Well, now, Kathy, I'm looking here, and here's what Rick Perry claims. He claims that he has put more boots on the ground and more technology and more targeted operations to dramatically reduce all crime along the border.
Oh, there's no crime on the border. I missed that.
And Bill White says he's going to put 1,250 more boots on the ground on the border. Now, that'll help a lot. 2,000-mile border.
Law enforcement officers. And I'll tell you where I got that. I did that. I got him to change his position. On a Wednesday, we were speaking together, debating before the North Texas Crime Commission, and I told them how much easier their life would be with me as their governor because I would secure that border and stop this invasion. Bill White said, well, it's a federal government's job, and he didn't have anything to say. The next day, he came out with his plan to put 1,000 new law enforcement officers funded with federal grants and asset forfeiture. So he's going to seize more of our assets so he can do this.
Right.
But it is a weak imitation of the true Kathie Glass plan to actually get something done.
And we're talking about Mr. Sanctuary City here, Bill White, who denied that Houston was a sanctuary city. Well, of course it was. And it wasn't until, unfortunately, 2 Houston policemen were murdered by illegal aliens that he even gave an inch on 505.
And I'll tell you another thing. He's avoided calling it a sanctuary city because he says now when people get processed, their ICE is called if they're illegal. Well, he gets around that because he doesn't process them. The word is out. A patrol policeman will tell you they are being told don't even bring the suspect in if you think he's an illegal alien.
I've heard the exact same thing. And the cops are not allowed to check warrants. Mm-hmm. And of course, that's where your really bad guys, like your murderers, like murdered those 2 cops, should have been taken off the street. So, I mean, he had to get in trouble big time when those 2 cops were murdered over this sanctuary policy. So,
and it's window dressing.
Rick Perry, we all know for 10 years, like you say, we've been invaded. And then Bill White, his plan simply is not going to work. There's not enough. Your plan makes sense where you'll stop them. Now, let's talk a little bit more about your plan. If I understood your website right, you don't think we should be educating the children of illegal aliens?
That's right. No taxpayer-funded services. And
how are we going to do that?
Well, you just say no. We just say you must prove citizenship before you get any taxpayer-funded service, including enroll in government schools.
Once again, it's a federal law, so you're saying that we're going to nullify that law.
Well, no, it's not a federal law, really. It's a state law. It comes from a United States Supreme Court case called Fowler v. Doe, which was in about 1980. Before that, we didn't educate for free people who were not citizens, and nothing was ever thought about it. But that Supreme Court case, I read it, and it's very weak. It says that one good thing, education is not a fundamental right. No state has to provide a free public education if they don't want to. Of course, our state constitution has some requirements, and we have to honor that. But this Supreme Court case also said, so any excuse or reason for not educating non-citizens that Texas could offer that made any sense, we would have to honor. But they made no argument. They didn't say, for example, we can't afford it. And if we had said that in this Supreme Court case, we would have been able to continue to not educate non-citizens. Well, we should go back. And if we are sued because we refuse to any longer allow free public education for non-citizens, if there's a lawsuit that comes out of that, we just simply point to that case, existing precedent, and say, well, we can't afford it. You said right here, if we'd said we couldn't afford it, that it would be okay. Well, we can't afford it. So,
and truly, we can't afford it.
And it's the truth. It's the truth. It's not a pretext.
What are the other points in your plan here?
On the border, well, it's three parts. Secure the border at the border, which is where I differ from the Arizona approach, which I admit and I respect that Arizona as a sovereign state has a right to make whatever laws they think is in their own best interest. But my approach is different. Secure the border at the border. Don't wait for people to come across the border and get integrated in society and then try to figure out where they are and who they are and what to do with them. Just stop it at the source. So that's number one. Number two, eliminate the taxpayer-funded services to non-citizens, which removes the magnet for people to want to jump the border where they're not supposed to.
You mean hospital also?
Well, if it's state-funded, yes. Now, if a private hospital, a charity hospital, has as their mission, and many do, to provide whatever care anyone needs regardless of their circumstances, well, they should continue to do that. But that's their mission.
They're going broke all over the state of Texas.
But just don't look to Texas or the state to reimburse you for that. That's your mission. You should do it with your own monies. But anything else?
Now, we're not talking about, of course, we'll save people's lives.
Well, there is a federal law on that for life-threatening emergencies.
Right.
And so that's something
But that's not
there.
what most of the money goes for.
No, and most of the time we know this. We don't know it because we don't ask. But we should ask, and that should be a part of their eligibility for receiving these services. And then, of course, third is no sanctuary cities, or in Governor Perry's case, no sanctuary state. We should enforce all laws equally to citizen and non-citizen alike.
Okay, I do have one question. What about the illegal aliens that are already here? And it's estimated that we have up to 10 million here in the state of Texas. What about the ones that are already here, that have taken jobs away from our citizens? They bought homes, they have businesses. What about them?
Well, at this point, I said, let's try this, try my approach and see how good it works. I think it's going to work very well. And that the ones who are here already, if they're not asking for taxpayers-funded services, they're not getting in trouble with the law. In fact, they've done nothing to draw our attention to them. They're apparently supporting themselves and keeping their nose clean. I say I do not see the benefit to trying to find them and deport them or escort them to the border.
Won't we find them when their children go to enroll?
Yes. And if they make themselves known to us, they self-identify, then we know, and then we can escort them to the border. Not deport them, because that'd be a federal responsibility. But I just don't see that we need to devote the manpower and the resources to try to ferret them out if they're not calling attention to themselves.
Well, we could do what used to happen in Texas. Law enforcement would get a $10 bounty on every time they caught an illegal alien. It worked very well. I mean, you laugh, but it did work.
I think people will self-deport if they're largely if they do not have these services, and we're making it difficult for them to get here in the first place.
And what about Texas driver's license?
Well, that's something you should be able to prove citizenship for.
Okay, and because we all know that
and we can define citizenship the way we want to, and we can define it in such a way that it does not include what's called anchor babies.